Hey folks, Salty Seaman here. Grand Theft Auto has become an amazing franchise, and the recent HD edition of Grand Theft Auto 5 on PS4 and Xbox One and PC has been great. They've actually not just redone it in HD, but they've changed a lot of stuff, and they seem to be on a really good track to really be making this like the absolutely most perfect game. And on that note, I think we should talk about maybe about 5 things we would like to see come to Grand Theft Auto. Continue tweaking the controls. One of the biggest things that's been a problem with Grand Theft Auto since 3 and Vice City has been the vehicle controls. Cars have been okay, but they've continually improved. Other vehicles have been atrocious pretty much since the beginning. They've slowly gotten better, but anyone who went through San Andreas Flight School can tell you just how terrible they can be. And even the 720 version of 5, the flight controls still sucked. It's one of the great things they did. They really did improve the flight controls in the HD version, which was pretty amazing how they tweaked it between 2 versions of the same game. But there's still a lot of room for improvement. I don't play Grand Theft Auto to, learn how to drive something for real. I want to be able to plug and play and everything be intuitive and just do the mission. I would rather the mission itself be tough and not because the controls suck. And they've made great strides in that. I'd like to see it continue. The helicopter controls still really bad. The plane has gotten a lot better. I'll give it that. The plane has gotten a lot better. Car controls have their moments, but are pretty much on track. I see them really continuing that. And I can't wait to see what they're going to do with it. Boats, meh. Boats are boats. I understand the water problem. The jet skis would be really good. Story and gameplay separation. Now here's one that they've definitely been leading the pack on of getting better at. The cliche with most games is if you've got a really in-depth storyline going on, a lot of times it doesn't really interact good with the actual gameplay, or sometimes it makes no sense whatsoever what you did in the cinematic part, and then it goes into the game part. Doesn't really make sense. And on that lane, that thing, you're trying to, and when you're in that lane, trying to think of that, realistic world. Now I don't want absolute realism, which is impossible in a video game anyway. But like I said, sometimes things just don't make any sense in terms of what you're doing. I don't want to have the cops continually hunting for me because I've been killing people and getting all these wanted stars. That's not fun, but having a reputation wouldn't be bad. On the same note, just because you trigger an in-game story part where you're supposed to get a bunch of wanted levels doesn't mean cop cars should just spawn around you, even if you're in an area that was completely deserted. That kind of takes you out of the game because now you're playing a video game. You're not playing the story you're just playing. That always irks me. It irks a lot of people. You can have the cops. You have a 3-star wanted level. You can have the cops coming at you. Once you drive a mile over or something, but they shouldn't immediately be on you. Just little things like that. They've done a lot of stuff. Like you walk towards a cutscene or the next section of a game part, and they're already in conversation, and you walk into it, and it kind of blends seamlessly. That's an amazing stride they made with 5. I'd like to see more of that. Stuff like that just kind of brings you in. Less stuff that kind of like takes you out of the story. And this is a game I think can do that, and that's what I've been really liking about it. Is they seem to be striving to kind of break down that wall between the segregation between gameplay and story. Multiple cities, and or as for the new game, or as DLC. I don't think we're going to get it with this gen. They seem to be, they completely revamped it for HD, and now it seems to be all their focus is on the live, which is, fine. It's where their bread and butter is. But, one of the great things about when we first played San Andreas was, having 3 different cities to explore, plus the, countryside. And yes, technically 5 is bigger than all the games combined, whatever, but it's one city and a bunch of countryside. And with the new gen, I think they can make a lot more. They don't make it on just the regular game. When the DLC comes out, instead of like, or a game pack, I should say, like, Ballad of Gay Tony or Lost in the Damned, instead of just having it all in the same map, why not, when that comes out, make another map to go along with it? Even if you're just flying back and forth to Liberty City or Vice City, however it is, having another city added onto that with the DLC, game pack, whatever, would be a really nice touch if it doesn't include it in the actual release game. And speaking of the multiplayer, and I don't play that much of the multiplayer. I'm more of the story mode guy, but one of the great things I think was of the 5 in the story mode was you had multiple characters. The great thing about online is you can play with friends. Why can't we combine these? This has like been asked for and asked for and asked for so much over the years that everyone's just kind of like, why haven't we done this yet? Why can't I play a co-op campaign mode with a friend, or 2 friends, or 3 friends, or whatever? There's got to be ways to split up the story mode. If you're playing a co-op, make 2 separate versions of it. Make a complete solo version, make a version that's with co-op. Have the ability for, if it's a solo mission and one of the other characters does a solo mission, the other guy can go back and play it because he wants to experience it. However you want to work it, I think it would be a lot of fun to go through the campaign mode with a friend or friends, and 5 seemed really designed for that, and yeah, it still didn't happen. We just had to switch between 3 characters. Vice having the ability to have 2 other friends play those characters, and we could each play in our worlds doing our missions, and there's always the ability to switch later or just make them completely different. However you want to do it, I think this could be a really great idea, and I'm certainly not the first to suggest it, but I would really like to see it. Female protagonists. Now this one, a lot of people also have been asking for, and one of the big criticisms of late has been kind of a thought misogynistic flavor that the game has. Now, not defending it or bashing it, but everyone, the argument is everyone in the game is a terrible person. Absolutely true. Unfortunately, all our protagonists have been male, and the longer you're with the protagonist, the more you have sympathy for them. We've never had any sympathy for a female character. If you take 5, and Franklin's aunt is a bitch, and Michael's wife and daughter are vapid and shallow and greedy, and they're completely unredeeming, and so is his son, and so are many other NPCs. No mention of obviously Trevor, but people still like him, but because you get to play with them so much, you get to experience them beyond just their worst characteristics. They get to be sympathetic, and the female characters we never really had a chance to do that with. And I think it'd be an interesting part of the game just to bring a female protagonist into it, especially if we continue with the multi-character kind gameplay. I'd really like to see it. I know online you can play as a female, but it doesn't really count. It's just you, playing, a skin. So anyway, that's going to do it. Just 5 little things for a great series that's been doing leaps and bounds every time they come out. Really great new things. I think they're on track for most of this, but hopefully we'll see a lot of this come to fruition at some point. Anyway, that's it for the Salty Seaman. I'm outie. Peace.